So if you're watching this, I don't have to explain to you why you need some type of system to deal with all the different tasks that are going on in your life. This video is to show you that a Trello board can be a great way to do that. I've been an advocate of using Trello boards for group projects and collaboration for a very long time, and have just recently started using it as my own personal system for dealing with tasks to kind of keep all of my to-do lists in one place, because I used to use a separate app for this. And I found that there are tremendous advantages to having all of my different tasks in one place, in addition to some of the things that Trello can do that I feel work best as a personal board as opposed to as a collaborative project anyway. So first things first, my lists are set up in a particular order because my cards are individual tasks, and those cards will navigate their way around the board because each list is its own different status. And so we'll talk about that more later. But they're in this particular order because whenever I sit down for a work session, I will work my way from left to right across my board. I'll deal with things in each of these lists, and I'll look through each of these lists going from top to bottom in every list from left to right. This is helpful not only from a processing standpoint, just working in order from left to right, which is helpful for me, but also because if I'm on a smaller computer screen than this one, this is a very big computer monitor right now, but if I'm on a laptop or on my phone or an iPad, then some of these lists are going to be cut off. So I might not be able to see my done list, which is quite all right because I rarely ever look at that. It's just there for record keeping. So on a smaller and smaller screen, I lose these lists from right to left, which allows for my most important lists to be the first ones that are going to be displayed on a screen, or the easiest ones to access if my screen is extremely limited, like on a phone. So I'm going to try to be really brief as I go through and talk about each of these lists, because the video can be really long. I recorded it a couple times and it's a really long video if I get carried away with myself. So what I'm going to do is make an accompanying post on our website under the how-to section on the BAHS Biomed website that'll have more detail. But I want to start off by talking about the inbox list, because I think this is the most important list on the entire board. The reason is because it serves as the only location where I make cards. I think if I make cards in other places, it becomes too cumbersome, and by having a special place for that, there's a couple advantages. One, if somebody stops me in the hallway, I can very quickly get whatever their request was out of my head and put it onto my personal Trello board by using the notification center widget on my phone. I can just pull down and hit the card button on Trello, and I can start and make a card really easily. It also serves as a location for me to use a very cool feature on Trello that I find not really helpful for collaborative projects, but I find extremely helpful for personal Trello boards, and that is the email to board setting. If you click on this, you get a special email address, and so I'm blocking mine out because this is my email address that would be sent to my personal Trello board. But this very long, complicated email address is an address for your board, and you can specify where things get created, because every email you send to this email address gets turned into a Trello card automatically. And you can learn more about exactly how that works later. I have this email address make new cards on my inbox list and put it at the bottom of the list. And so any email that I want to forward to my Trello board, if somebody sends me a task or sends me a request via email, I can forward that to my Trello board in 2 or 3 clicks from my phone, and it gets made into a card right here. So it saves me a lot of time and helps me condense where all of my different requests and tasks are by forwarding emails to my Trello board. Something else that I just within the past 48 hours started messing with is the Trello integrations on the service called If This Then That. I've been using this service for a while and really like it, but I just started using it to put weekly tasks, different chores or different things I want to keep working on, different habits I'm trying to build. I can use this recipe to make cards show up in my inbox at the times and days that I designate, with labels already attached and with all the other stuff. So that's really cool. And so that way there's one place for me to look, and from here I move them wherever they belong. If it's an urgent task that needs to go into the sprint column, or it's something that can just go into the waiting, or it might be something that I can finish immediately and just drop right over into the done column. But the inbox is an incredibly important list because it is the receptacle for all of your tasks via email, via cards that you create, via app, or via different services. The inbox is incredibly important as a receptacle for all of the different tasks that come your way. So after I deal with my inbox, I move over to my daily list, and the daily list is not stuff that you do every day in the sense that you don't have a card for wake up and a card for shower and stuff like that. These are for habits that you're trying to build or things that you're trying to keep in the front of your mind that you don't always keep in the front of your mind. These are things that you need help with. In the dailies column, I will see them every day. Every time I look at my Trello board, it'll remind me about these things. In my opinion, you should keep this short. If I have more than 3 things here, it kind of loses its impact and I don't do as well with those items. So the third list on my board is called the sprint list, and the sprint list is where I have emergencies. These are fires that need to be put out type tasks. My goal is to never have anything in here because I've had enough forethought and enough planning and enough time to make sure it gets done normally without any urgency, but sometimes things come up. Something didn't work out, or something needs to be redone, or something along those lines, or it might be a task that somebody else asked me to do out of nowhere. So the sprint list is here as the third list, as a separate list from everything else, because these are things I really need to get done urgently. It doesn't mean if it's not in the sprint list, it's not important. It just means that if it's not in the sprint list, then everything's going okay. So my fourth list is called the doing list, and that is where I keep cards that I'm currently working on. Everything's moving forward, everything's fine, but I keep them separate because I want to finish those tasks before I start something new. Ideally, this list is empty and I pull a new card over from to do and start working on it. You can never keep all of your different tasks completely done, but this is a nice place for me to keep tasks that are currently in progress. So the fifth list is something that I just created within the past week, and I call it the waiting list because these are tasks that I am currently working on, but the ball is in somebody else's court. I'm waiting for somebody else to do something so that I can then move it back over into my doing area. So I keep it separate so that I can have a more honest opinion about what things I can do right now, but they're still separate from the to-do because it's kind of in progress. I'm still figuring out how I like this list, but this is an important list, I think. So my sixth list is the to-do list. This is the area where I keep tasks that I haven't started yet that need to be done. So most of the time, cards go from the inbox straight to the to-do list after I process them, and things just wait here. This is a really long list with lots of books and other things I want to read and do, but I keep it all the way over here so that it doesn't distract me from the other things that I need to get done first. So a card's final stop on my Trello board is the done list. As is pretty obvious, the done list is the receptacle for things that I've finished. I like keeping this here as opposed to archiving or deleting cards because it serves as a really good record. If you maintain your Trello board well, then these lists and this activity monitor down here is really helpful. So I've moved this card from the sprint to the done list at 7:56 p.m. on June 20th. Another feature that I find really helpful is actually a power-up. So if you go to the power-ups area, you'll see a couple different things. So in my opinion, the calendar is really helpful. So you're just going to click enable on that. And what it does is put this little button here. And you click on that, it changes everything into a calendar view, which is kind of cool actually. So I can look to see like, oh, these days are really important. These days are really busy. I can move them, and that will change the due date on that card by just moving it around. So I can see that this Friday, I got a couple things planned for this Friday that I really need to get working on, and I can see which days are busier and where I have openings, which is really helpful. So by far, the number one way that I get tasks done is via the lists and the due dates. But there are definitely times where it's helpful to have a different way to pick out what tasks to get done. And so the label function in Trello is really helpful. If you go to More and then Labels, you can see all the different labels that I have made, and you can make your own. You can have an unlimited number of labels. I find that it's helpful to keep it relatively restricted, and I have it set up this way. You can read the post on the website for how and why I have this set up this way, but mainly I have a color for each different area of my life, and then I have these things which essentially mean the more red a task is, the more important it is for me to get done. And so I can see the extremes very easily from the front of a card. I can see that this is 3 reds, I need to get it done. I can hover over here to see each one of these things, but if I click on it, I can see the back and see that this is a high energy, high impact, urgent task for Bel Air High School. And so that's why it's in the sprint area. It's got a due date for today, all that good stuff, which is really helpful. You can make whatever you want and have it set up however you want. The other thing that Trello can do is filter cards. So I can find high impact tasks that are due in the next week. So the search feature is really helpful if you process your cards well, meaning every card that comes into your inbox. The reason there is an inbox is because you can make sure that every card gets filtered, gets processed with the information that you need in your system. For me, that means I put labels and due dates on essentially everything. One of the beauties of Trello for collaborative projects is when you assign a task to someone, they are subscribed to the card and they get a notification 24 hours before the due date in the app and via email. So that's awesome for a group member to be kept in the loop and reminded without you having to remind that group member. But you're the only person on this board, and so to get notifications about all these things, you'd have to subscribe or assign yourself to every one of these cards. And so that is just clunky and not fun. So to solve that problem, there's this really cool feature in Trello called Subscribe. And so you can subscribe to the entire board. And so there are definitely contexts where this might be helpful in a group project where you would get notifications about everything that happened, but on a personal board, that is a necessity. So by subscribing to this board, you will now get notifications about every due date for every card automatically without you having to be assigned to that card or without you having to subscribe to each individual card. So definitely go into the menu, go into More, and then select Subscribe Board. And that's going to be the last thing that you really need to get done before you sit down and start dropping in a whole bunch of cards on your inbox. This way, you can keep track of all the different things that are going on in your life, in your different areas of interest, in your school. All that stuff should all absolutely be in here. If you make this a consolidated area where you have all of your tasks, then you make it incredibly easy on yourself to stay on top of things and prevent tasks and important things in your life from falling through the cracks. So hopefully you were able to follow along and make your own Trello board for your personal to-do list, and you find more resources and help on our website at bahsbiomed.com/how-to. You'll find tons of different resources, but also a companion article to this video. So definitely check that out and keep up to date with your personal tasks.